going to a party, it's natural that everyone making an appearance wants to steal the spotlight. However, we should aspire to work together as a team and nail our entrances in unison. Let's be honest here, how much money did the MCU standalone movies make when compared to any of the Avengers films? Who would have thought that out of all of the heroes existing in the DCEU, it would be Shazam who'd go on to get a second solo film? I mean, Batfleck doesn't even have one to his credit. No, Batman v Superman was a joint title, so don't come at me in the comments about that. Anyway, the focus isn't on a single superhero here, but rather a team. The bridge disaster was obviously a lot for our hero to handle by himself, so he gave us a nice little sequence by putting his Shazam squad to work. The scene technically begins from when they transform together, because I like the flow of them turning super and then pulling off the rescue act. Some of the lines here might sound a bit odd, but remember, okay, these are kids in superhero avatars. Trying to think of them as PG-13 versions of Deadpool. Before we go ahead, I just want to share news with you that I finally launched my course on how to make 5 to 10k a month on YouTube, making movie scene videos just like the TV region. Check out the link in my description to gain access. We're kicking things off with back-to-back entries from 2023, and this one involves an epic-looking walk spearheaded by the newly redeemed Rocket Raccoon. There's something about slow, drawn-out marches that just look extra badass, don't they? Of course, the context is of a more serious tone, but even then, the Guardians get their groove on as if they're in an Austin Powers movie. I mean, Groot didn't even think twice before following his buddy into an all-out war. Yeah, sure, Gamora doesn't look too interested, but that's only because she isn't the real deal. God only knows when Star-Lord's gonna get over his alien girlfriend. The entrance technically happens after Drax forces open the gate, but the build-up was good enough to land a spot right here. James Gunn might be a secret villain to the DCEU, but he did give Marvel some kind of redemption with his final hurrah.
The name's Rocket. Rocket Raccoon.
This was such an overwhelming scene that I don't even know where to begin. It was badass enough to have Miles Morales work with those other Spidey variants in the first flick, but to have so many versions of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man all in one scene was way too much to handle. Just look at some of the guys here. There's a werewolf Spider-Man, a Spider-Man from India, manga Spider-Man, Superior Spider-Man, and even a freaking T-Rex Spider-Man. Yeah, you heard that right. We got a freaking dinosaur slinging webs and fighting crime in some sort of alternate universe. Animating this sequence must have taken a serious toll on the visual effects team, but the outcome is so brilliant, I feel like they're going to take home another Oscar for it. Like they even included the PlayStation Spider-Man in this film. Sony really knows how to sell a Marvel movie, don't they?
Wait, you? Miles Morales!
When you've cemented your place as a legend in the world of cinema, people are going to pay big bucks to bring you back to the big screen. And that's exactly what happened with Michael Keaton and Warner Brothers because, well, I honestly don't see any other reason for him agreeing to do The Flash. Regardless of how the world might feel about the film, there were a few respectable moments, and one of them includes the time Bruce Wayne and the two Barrys dropped down from the Batwing. When this scene played in the theater, I mean, I literally lost it. Seeing the Batplane overlap the moon and hearing the theme was an incredible hit of nostalgia. Man, I really want to bring back the good old days, but I suppose CGI and de-aging are the closest we're ever going to get to the real thing, eh? Jumping off a flying plane seems to be a popular mode of entrance for superheroes, right? Well, the Justice Society did look for some kind of tag-along group for the majority of Black Adam, but I found the plane jumping scene pretty intense. Most of it has to do with Hawkman, because he's the one who makes the first and most badass drop. He was a total giga chad in this movie, but it's a damn shame that we probably won't ever get to see him again. Adding on to that, I'm also upset with how they showed Dr. Fate in this film. He definitely wasn't up to his full potential, because he's the kind of guy who can take on both Black Adam and Sabbac at the same time. Don't believe me? Well, go ahead and read the comics first. The opening act of a big budget movie is of paramount importance. It basically establishes the tone for the rest of the film, and you need to engage the audience with something. Otherwise, they'll just think of it as a snooze fest. The attack on Hydra from Age of Ultron is a perfect example of how to do such scenes right, because, I mean, come on, it's literal perfection. Say what you will about Age of Ultron, but that cumulative shot with all of our heroes raging together was absolutely epic. All the Avengers in one frame, done so well, I almost had a tear in my eye. There were also some funny moments here to strike a nice balance, and they don't even look cheesy or forced. For me though, the highlight has got to be when Thor tries to fight against the human soldiers. It's as if he's just punching plastic bags.
We really need to get inside. Did you ever smile? Closing in?
There's a passageway below the North Tower.
Great, I want to poke it for something.
There's something about DC films doing it much better in round 2. The most notable example is obviously Zack Snyder's Justice League, but even 2021's The Suicide Squad was a breath of fresh air that very much revitalized the franchise, only for it to drown again later. That's exactly symbolic of what happens in this scene as well. Team 1 really put on a show for us, especially with that opening shot of Michael Rooker and the cold intro. I love how the whole thing starts with Team 1 looking all badass and stuff, but then what happens soon after is not very badass at all. Well, I mean, it's not like Amanda Waller cares about any of them anyway, but even then, you gotta feel sorry for those guys. Well, maybe apart from Pete Davidson. That dude's been stealing too many women in real life for any sympathy. It's always going to be hard to market and sell a brand that hits its peak with kids in the late 90s and early 2000s. Having said that, the morphing scene from 2017's Power Rangers was the standout moment, and in my opinion, one of only 2 or 3 sequences that deserved praise in that entire film. You can tell they spent a huge chunk of the budget on this moment alone, and probably on Bryan Cranston's paycheck as well. Jokes aside, the coherent transformations amongst all the Rangers definitely looked a notch above everything else we saw. And if we are being real here though, only Morbius can get a reference before the film even released. Those Power Rangers thought they could get away by stealing the Morbin Time meme from him, but the TV Regent is quick to catch stuff like this.
I've missed you, my friend.
Let's go, boys. Billy.
The Naughty Ninja was obviously going to be a part of this list because he's always had a thing for group activities. For this one, we're looking at the final team up in Deadpool 2, where Wade Wilson teams up with Cable, Domino, and Dopinder to rescue Collins. The running scene was extremely funny, especially with Dopinder showing all that excessive passion. Bro even spit on the road for added effect. I mean, seriously, he's the main reason why this scene makes it to today's video. Of course, he pissed his pants and ran away after seeing Juggernaut, but you can't blame him for that, right? It's not the first time he's bailed on his latex buddy either, but don't worry, I'm going to be getting to that in a bit.
Put up your ass.
Superman. I'd expected you and that mud of yours much sooner. Crypto, fetch! Good dog. Let's put this thing back in space.
Usually you'd associate the Justice League with something out of a Zack Snyder film, but I'm not the kind to give in to stereotypes. DC League of Super Pets was a light-hearted flick that focused on having fun rather than anxiety, and that's why I'm including it on this list. Apart from the fact that we get to see so many pets being good boys and girls, there's also that epic entrance where all the Justice League members show up after one another to foil Lex Luthor's evil plans. Everyone's here, albeit in their animated avatars, but I don't mind it one bit. It's just so wholesome, you know? Also, if Keanu Reeves is the dude voicing Batman, you can always count me in.
Thanks for building your stupid, evil headquarters on the river. Very convenient for the water guy.
Yeah, none of this stuff is invisible. It's really more transparent.
At some point in our lives, we must have heard the term late to the party. Well, this moment from Avengers Endgame sums it up pretty nicely, doesn't it? It's not exactly a full-strength squad on the mission, but there's Thor and Captain Marvel working on the same team, so that's more than enough to defeat Thanos. Unfortunately for our heroes, it's a bit too late for redemption because the stones, they're already gone by now. It's tragic and gives us all a sense of helplessness that nothing can undo what's already been done. This scene is the literal definition of do what you must, I've already won. On a side note though, the Avengers were the real villains in this scene. All bro wanted to do was make some soup and he ended up losing his head.
The stones serve no purpose beyond temptation.
You murdered Trillion!
Where are the stones?
Gone. I am inevitable.
If I was kind enough to mention Team 1 earlier, you can bet your bottom dollar that the actual Suicide Squad was also going to make an appearance. What I really like about this scene is the intensity which all of the characters portray themselves. Just look at the way Bloodsport's walk in here. Bro looks like Stone Cold Steve Austin. The water splashing around everyone definitely enhanced the entrance as a whole, and the fight that followed was absolutely brutal. King Shark must have loved the extra moisture around him because he sure looked like he was having a fun time ripping soldiers in half. On a serious note though, I think these characters work so well with each other because they're all scattered over multiple comic storylines. I gave this film a shout out in its sequel entry, and that was a hint for you. Of course I was going to include this scene. It's literally the first time we see multiple Spider-Men with each other. This was before the days of No Way Home, so Spider-Man fans everywhere lost their minds when they saw them all coming together on the big screen. Sony knew exactly what they were getting into with this kind of concept, and it's paid off big time with critical and commercial acclaim. More than anything else, we get to see Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir, which alone is enough to win my heart. Yeah, there's Spider-Ham and Spider-Gwen as well, but come on, Ghost Rider's on your team? There's no way you can lose.
criminals. Woo! Do not go in there. Oh, let's see Captain America do that.
Man, this guy can never do anything straight. That was an unintentional pun, but yeah, I like it. The X-Force entrance scene is definitely hilarious, but also pretty cool if you cut out the part where everyone dies. The main reason why I'm putting it this high is because the deaths are pretty nasty and brutal, which definitely goes against the whole point of the heroes looking triumphant. I can't believe Brad Pitt actually lent himself for a cameo that lasted all of 2 business seconds either. Bro took out the time just to show himself getting electrocuted to death. The fact that everyone except Deadpool and Domino are killed off makes the entire sequence feel like an extended joke. You gotta feel bad for Peter though. Poor guy just wanted to feel useful for once.
Give me back my skills. Give me your best shot, One-Eyed Willie.
It's become an undisputed fact that the Guardians of the Galaxy have become a beloved franchise in the MCU. They overcame the odds and became so popular that their threequel is the only successful Marvel flick after Avengers Endgame and No Way Home. There was a lot of excitement to see these guys in Infinity War, and as expected, everyone cheered loudly when they saw the Guardians singing their way into the Avengers timeline. It was only fair to have them show up with Star-Lord singing while Drax snoozes away. Also, Gamora casually singing in the co-pilot seat is some of the best subtle character development I've seen. Unfortunately, we all know what happens later on to her, so let's not talk about that. Don't you just love it when the good guys come together to save the day? Magneto's pretty much an evil genius whose intellect could rival that of Professor X. However, even with a Jean Grey in Phoenix mode, he still couldn't hold a candle to the epic entrance curated by Logan and the other X-Men. Whether it was Storm showing up with thunderous clouds behind her, or Wolverine using his claws to make a sparkling appearance, the whole point of the scene was to show how unity strengthens a team in the best possible manner. Of course, I'm not going to name all the mutants to show up here, but it's safe to say that our heroes stole the show. It also helps that this moment is followed by the epic final battle that was longer than a Martin Scorsese movie. Deliver something as iconic as the Infinity Saga, it's understood that you've set the bar way too high for your own good. The Eternals was definitely trying to become the next Avengers franchise, but a series of unfortunate decisions led to a disappointing run at the box office and a lot of unwarranted criticism. I mean, sure, it's no masterpiece, but it doesn't deserve all the Twitter hate either. You know, Elon Musk really needs to do something about those jobless bots. Anyway, the reason the Eternals is in the spotlight right now is because of their entrance scene, which is quite frankly the best one I've seen in Phase 4 of the MCU. Not only is it an introduction to the characters, director Chloe Zhao made sure that they showed off their powers at the same time. We had Icarus flexing his laser beams, Angelina Jolie proving that she's just as badass as she was in Tomb Raider, and Gilgamesh dominating the Deviants with his brute strength. Yeah, I'm skipping over the other members once again, but that's only because I've got 8 other entries to cover here. Funny that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sequel is called Out of the Shadows, because it quite frankly reminds me of the Batman. But then again, the movie came out 6 years earlier, so if I'm accusing anyone of being a copycat, then I guess it's Robert Pattinson. Anyway, we're treated to a hilarious and action-packed sequence as Leo, Ralph, Mikey and Donnie all argue with each other during their appearance, but still stay together because of the bro code. I just love the camaraderie shown amongst the Turtle Squad and still can't get over the fact that all this drama was just for a pizza collection. Well, when the bros are that tight, I guess they should do everything right. Shout out to the pizza delivery man for looking so calm even as a bunch of mutated turtles snatches the pizza away from him. This scene is definitely a standout for me because I haven't mentioned Megan Fox even once. Well, till now I guess. Damn you, Machine Gun Kelly. You are a blessed man.
Oh, guys, does it get any better than this?
Yeah, bro, I want to be down there.
You sit your ugly self down there, you'd have people running for their lives.
You know what, speaking of Megan Fox, here she is in the role that changed her life forever, as well as every teenage boy on the planet in 2007. No, wait, listen, I've got to keep focus here. I have to talk about the Transformers, okay? More specifically, this sequence is when Optimus Prime and the other Autobots finally show themselves to Sam and Michaela against the backdrop of a shiny night. I've got to say, this part of the movie definitely doesn't feel like something Michael Bay would shoot. I mean, I love how the whole scene is presented, but it's got a very poetic feel to it, which is very uncharacteristic. Like, all the Autobots show themselves in a disciplined sequence, even though the timing is a little bit too hectic. That's the point I realised that Steven Spielberg was an executive producer of the film, and everything started to make a little bit more sense. I wonder if that's the reason why he had all those Dinobots in Age of Extinction.
My name is Optimus Prime. We are autonomous robotic organisms from the planet Cybertron. But you can call us Autobots for short.
Leave a message and have a happy day.
God damn it! I'm gonna do this the old-fashioned way.
I'm a wolf in sheep clothing. Only nigga that you know who can chill. Come back and get the streets open.
Deadpool's a pretty legendary character by himself, but even he needs his X-Force every now and then. No, I'm not talking about that kind of force. Get your brains out of the gutter, alright? Wade Wilson is a softie for teams, and we see him in full flow with Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Yep, this one's from the OG flick from 2016, and I just had to include it because of how badass the background track is. Of course, since we're watching a Ryan Reynolds film, there's going to be some kind of comedic interruption, and it happens when Dopinder scams the latex ninja and drives away at the very last moment. I've seen a lot of funny entrances in my life, but I don't think any of them can top this one. Sorry Wade, X probably won't give it to you. Like, share and subscribe because unlike Dopinder, I'm a keeper who'll always stay by your side.
Go get it, Private.
I mentioned them in the intro, so it was only a matter of time before I brought them up in one of my entries. 2012's Avengers changed the modern landscape of filmmaking by bringing on so many intertwined characters and storylines that it became the norm over the next decade. Now, to be fair, we've already seen the Avengers before this scene, but they don't technically make an entrance together until after Hulk smashes a freaking Leviathan with a single punch. It was the voila moment of the 2010s, and I still remember how everyone in the cinemas were clapping their hands and cheering out loud to celebrate the birth of a new blockbuster franchise. Also, this is supposed to be the first time they assemble, but Captain America never really gave us the satisfaction till several years later. The polarizing Andy Warhol once said, "One's company, two's a crowd, and three's a party." Zack Snyder sure seemed to like that saying because introducing Wonder Woman in Batman vs Superman was definitely a party for everyone who was watching. To be fair, you need as many goddesses as you can if you're up against an overpowered villain like Doomsday. Watching DC's most iconic trio joining hands together was clearly a crowd-pleasing act, and it paid off to a certain extent. Technically speaking, the one making an entrance here is Wonder Woman herself, but her sudden addition to Batman and Superman does make the scene count as a group introduction, which is as good as an entrance to me. I mean, I'm making the rules here, so you can come at me in the comments if you don't agree, but preferably in groups, yeah? I guess you could say I gave you a little teaser in the previous entry because this one's got the whole freaking Justice League in it. Well, without Superman, but he joins in later, so it's all good. The attack on Steppenwolf was a pretty cool sequence, especially if you consider the apocalyptic colour grading, which most definitely suited Snyder's directorial style. The League makes a joint entrance as they crash through the door and into Steppenwolf's lair, which is perfectly captured in that one freeze frame that almost made the whole thing feel like an anime or something. A nice little touch was to show everyone in a levitated state except for Batman, who's already got such a cool Batmobile that it more than compensates for his lack of Batwings. Of course, the Man of Steel isn't here, which is why it's got to settle for a top 3 spot. It doesn't matter which age group you belong to, there's definitely a Spider-Man you relate to the most. For me, it's obviously got to be Tobey Maguire, who'll always remain the OG legend of the Spidey franchise. Then of course, there's Andrew Garfield and Zendaya's boyfriend, Tom Holland. Now, if you were to turn back time to before the promos began for No Way Home, I don't think anyone would have anticipated something so iconic that it would change film history forever. Never before have 3 Peter Parkers ever graced the big screen together in a live-action adaptation. And let's face it, these guys are the most popular actors to have ever played Spider-Man. And that's no hate to Miles Morales though. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that their group shot together made all my problems go away, and I'll never forget being a part of something so special. If the Spider-Man entry couldn't make it to the top spot, I suppose you knew it was going to be this one to win the list. It's a pretty fair choice too. Every single hero from the MCU came together to give us the most phenomenal final battle ever witnessed in a comic book adaptation. The Russo brothers left no stone unturned to ensure we all got the payoff we both needed and deserved. Like, even Spidey's part of the team up, so it's not like I've left him out either. This was a moment that froze time across theatres all over the world. It was the culmination of a decade's worth of hard work, all coming together in one spectacular sequence that would have moviegoers going ballistic on their Instagram and TikTok videos. Most importantly though, this was the moment when the Avengers finally assembled. Oh man, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. Thanks for watching. In the meantime, here's another video that you'll enjoy.